All right, let's get it started here. Let's wait for some people to trickle in here. Who even knows if I'll get anyone today, because it's an off week and Knicks news currently isn't as predominant right now in the news cycle as opposed to last week when I've done stuff and all the previous weeks. But let's wait here a second for people to trickle in. I'm going to start with the first person that I see. If I get one person, we're starting up here. Currently at 0. All right, well, whatever. Screw it. Let's start. First off, just want to extend my deepest condolences to all of the Indiana Pacers fans out there who unfortunately had to deal with a season-ending sweep to the Boston Celtics. Couldn't imagine what a sweep would feel like, because us Knicks fans didn't experience a sweep. And even with our second and third best players, we were able to win 3 games in that series against the Pacers, in which the Pacers ended up coming out on top, and in a series in which the Pacers lost their best player. They couldn't even scratch one out, so that's unfortunate. All the Pacers fans who wanted to talk shit to Knicks fans the past couple of weeks since the Knicks lost, well, how's that, right? Giving a little taste of your own medicine. So let's start here with the news last week reported that Jalen Brunson is willing to accept less money, $114 million less, by re-signing this offseason as opposed to next offseason, which, of course, he'll make a lot more money considering the fact that he is now an all-NBA talent. So what did Knicks fans do to deserve this guy? The Knicks A1 guy, Jalen Brunson, is willing to take less money to allow the Knicks more cap flexibility and allow them to go out and sign bigger names and allow them to re-sign Isaiah Hartenstein, re-sign OG Anunoby. This guy is by far the most team-friendly superstar in the NBA. Jalen Brunson, that is, if you're just joining. Thank you. I'm Bryce Gelman. Going to be talking Knicks, OG Anunoby, and Julius Randle. But we're going to starting here with Jalen Brunson. And the news last week, of course, that Jalen Brunson is going to be taking less money, or at least it's been reported. We don't know what is going to be the case. Obviously, the offseason hasn't technically started in the NBA's calendar. Getting pretty close there with these two potential, one sweep and then another potential sweep in these conference final series. But man, I mean, there is no doubt in my mind that this guy is the greatest thing to happen to New York sports in I don't know how long. What did we do to deserve this guy? Really, what did we do? The way that he's put the team on his back, the way that he is just completely owned up to any mistakes that he's made, the accountability, the leadership that we've seen from Jalen Brunson, and now the icing on top of the cake. Jalen Brunson is willing to take less money so the Knicks have more flexibility to do what they need to do to get to the finals, to get to the promised land, to win a championship for the first time since 1973, and bring glory back to New York City. And who better to lead the Knicks to that than Jalen Brunson? So props to Jalen Brunson. It remains to be seen whether or not that report is true. Based off everything that we've seen from Jalen Brunson, based on everything that he said, based on everything that he's done, the way that he's carried himself, the way that he's led this Knicks team, I can totally see that happening. And I wasn't surprised when I saw it. I mean, of course, when you see that your franchise superstar player is willing to take $150 million less to help your team, you're a little happy. I mean, of course you're happy about it, but you're like, really? I mean, realistically, how is the NBA Players Association going to respond to that? Well, who cares? The Knicks are going to be better off because of Jalen Brunson's selflessness and his just overall ability to do the right thing and to put his team in the best possible spot. We've seen guys do it in the past. We've seen Kobe Bryant take less money. We've seen, actually, I mean, he still was making a lot of money at the end. We've seen LeBron do it, but other guys out there who have done it, but not on this level. Not $117 million left. So props to Jalen Brunson. I just every day I have to pinch myself. The fact that the Knicks got that guy, the fact that the Knicks somehow were able. I mean, let's put it objectively. I mean, there was obviously a connection between Leon Rose and Jalen Brunson and Rick Brunson beforehand. The Knicks got hit with tampering, whatever. I don't care. It was a match made in heaven. Jalen Brunson feels at home. He feels comfortable. And he has embraced the city, and the fans have embraced him in return. And of course they have, considering what he's done. The fact that he was able to completely put the Knicks on his back and make the second round of the playoffs, the most wins the Knicks have had in a playoffs since 2000. And that is all because of Jalen Brunson. And rewarded with that being fifth in MVP voting and, of course, second-team All-NBA when he should have been first-team All-NBA. It makes no sense that some people voted for Jason Tatum above him in the All-NBA voting, but somehow voted for Brunson over Tatum in the MVP voting. I don't understand. I'm going to need some of these people to explain their thought process there. But Jalen Brunson, man, what more can you say about him? Franchise, city-altering talent. There's an argument to be made. I mean, no, right now, Aaron Judge is that number one super. Aaron Judge, that's another story for another day. We'll be talking a lot more Yankees going forward with the NBA season dwindling down. Of course, more offseason stuff we'll talk about, but Aaron Judge, man, I mean, I digress. He's been the best player in baseball the last month. So it goes Judge, Brunson, too. Let's get into some OG Anunoby news. And just a reminder that the Knicks went 26-6 with OG Anunoby in the lineup this year. So think about that. Let's take a step back right now. Let's take a step back and look at what the Knicks had to give up to get him, to get their X factor, to get OG Anunoby on the team. They gave up RJ Barrett, the Knicks' homegrown guy. They drafted him number 3 overall in the 2019 NBA draft. All the Knicks fans, every person who is a sports fan who watches the NBA, who just tuned into the Knicks, was completely in favor of, I mean, I wouldn't say in favor, but rooting for RJ Barrett to thrive with the Knicks, because it's been a long time since the Knicks have drafted a guy in the first round, and that player has turned into a franchise guy. I mean, you look back, I think I really don't even know. I forgot the name, but it's been 19 or 22 years the Knicks gave out an extension. They gave out that extension to RJ Barrett. So inevitably fans were completely locked into his ability to become that guy for the Knicks. And he, for whatever reason, I mean, the fact that he wasn't able to have the ball as much as he wanted, and he wasn't able to play as well off of the superstars of the Knicks as the Knicks wanted, they dealt him. And the more unfortunate part of the deal was giving up Immanuel Quickley, who the Knicks, of course, were unable to strike a deal with. It was reported that the Knicks wanted to give him 4 years, $80 million, $20 million a year, and Quickley wanted something more in the range of $25, $30 million. Hopefully he'll get that. Immanuel Quickley, he is really an ideal type of guy that you want on your team. You know, he's got a great attitude. He comes in, brings a lot of energy. He's a great scorer, great two-way guy. He's completely revamped his defensive prowess in the years that he was on the Knicks, and he kind of blossomed into that more of a large role with the Toronto Raptors, as well as RJ Barrett. And in return to giving up those two guys, two homegrown guys, two guys the Knicks drafted, two guys that became extremely favorable in the eyes of the Knicks fans. Besides, I mean, Barrett was a cautionary tale, right? Like, everyone wanted Barrett to succeed, but there were times when you could just tell he didn't care. He didn't want to play defense. The shot wasn't falling. He decided to not play hard. So, hasta la vista, bye-bye. No one really cares. Of course, there's sadness part of that, but realistically, the one that we're more upset about was Immanuel Quickley. But they got in return, they got it. OG Anunoby, they got their X factor. And again, ladies and gentlemen, 26-6, the Knicks were. So you think the Knicks would go out and make that deal, knowing that this was an OG Anunoby contract year, knowing the type of deal that he was going to command in free agency, and make that move and not re-sign OG Anunoby? And of course, there's going to be interest from other teams, and the Sixers are interested in every player in free agency. It seems like they have a lot of money, so they're going to throw it around. I don't know how likely it is that OG Anunoby will sign with them, but there's a chance that the Sixers say, F you, Knicks, F you, Leon Rose, we're going to bid on him, and we're going to try to drive this price up, so you guys have to pay $45 million instead of $35 million, which is what the ideal deal is right now for the Knicks. It'd be 4 years, $140 million for OG Anunoby. He becomes the highest paid player on the Knicks, which isn't an easy feat when you play alongside Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. So it's been reported that it's not as clear-cut that OG Anunoby is going to resign with the Knicks as is Pascal Siakam with the Indiana Pacers. But here's what I have to say to that. The Knicks didn't make that move. They didn't give up two homegrown guys, two guys, one of them being a major factor in the future of the Knicks in Emmanuel Quickly for a guy in which you'd only have for a year and to be a 1-year rental. It makes no sense. Leon Rose, you have to have trust in him. He's made the right decisions time and time again. It appears like that will be the case yet again, because there was another report following this report, this main report, that said it doesn't look like it will be likely the Knicks allow OG Anunoby to walk. Even if the financials don't make sense, the Knicks will find a way to re-sign OG Anunoby 26-6. I keep repeating it. I know I sound like a, what even is the saying? I don't even know. But you get my point. Right? I'm repeating this a million times. It's clear the Knicks need OG Anunoby. All right, we got Casey. Casey's the man. If you guys want to drop a comment, you can leave a comment down below on Twitter, X, or on YouTube as well. We're live on both. Fully healthy team next year that has title hopes, you think? Absolutely, Casey. Absolutely, this team has title hopes. I think reasonably saying, if the Knicks were completely healthy this year, they crushed Boston. Are you watching these games? How reliant the Celtics are on three-point shooting? How locked down the Knicks defense was, especially in that Sixers series? Is there really any doubt in your mind the Knicks could have beat Boston in 6 games? Crazy to say. But the Knicks showed you in January, when they went 14-2, just how good they could possibly be. And that's why I want them to run it back next year. And it leads me perfectly into this next day. And Casey, thank you for the comment here. And again, you can leave comments down below on Twitter and X and on YouTube, no matter where you're watching. Another, again, leads me perfectly into this. It is talking about Julius Randle. And the future for Randle on the team. He's eligible to sign a 4-year, around $180 million extension with the Knicks. And listen, you want to run it back. You got to run it back. If you could find a way to re-sign Hartenstein, to re-sign Anunoby, to bring back Randle, not have to trade him, you do it. You explore the potential from what you saw in January. How can you not? Because even without Julius Randle, this Knicks team could have won at least a game or two against Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals if OG Anunoby didn't get hurt. The Knicks got past the Sixers, and again, I understand Joel Embiid wasn't 100%, but at least they had Joel Embiid. And they got some meaningful contributions from their bench, which was way better than the Knicks bench in that series, and also from Tyrese Maxey, who became a superstar, showed his true potential in that series. That wasn't an easy task. They win in 6. They should have won in 5, but whatever. I digress. They won in 6. They got past the Sixers. They advanced the next round of the playoffs, and of course, OG Anunoby, the Knicks had to suffer another injury. And that's even after the Mitchell Robinson injury and the Bojan Bogdanovic. So the Knicks are down 3 guys in this series against the Pacers. They still take it to 7. But what does that tell you about the resilience of this team? What does that tell you about the talent that this team has? What does that tell you about the mentality that this team has? The next man up mentality. These guys are winners. They go out and they compete to the highest level. They fight for loose balls. They take accountability when they screw up, and then they perform after that. Julius Randle, say what you want about him in the past. Say what you want about his inability to perform consistently in the playoffs. And it's just unfortunate because I, for one, was extremely excited to see how Julius Randle will contribute to this Knicks team in the playoffs, because there had to have been a major chip on Randle's shoulder if he had gotten to the playoffs, considering what the talking points have been from Randle after the last 2 playoff runs, where he imploded in 2021, he imploded again in 2023. And say what you want about his injuries, he did implode. His body just could not hold up the entire year playing major minutes. It sucks. It sucks. And Randle last night, by the way, gotta add this in here, in the alt cast for ESPN's NBA broadcast or whatever with Kevin Hart, actually. He said that his shoulder is healing up well. So that's great. That's fine and dandy. Hopefully he'll be back by training camp, and hopefully he'll be 100%. I don't know how likely that is by opening day. So where does this lead me next? The Knicks would be complete idiots to not run it back with Julius Randle. He's the Knicks' second best player. Just his mere presence allows a completely different offensive scheme, especially for Jalen Brunson, who I think up until game 3 or game 4 in the Pacers series had 4 or 5 open catch and shoot threes the entire playoffs, which is just absurd when you think about it, how much he had to create on his own. If you watch film from earlier on in this year, if you watch film from last playoffs, how many open threes that Jalen Brunson was able to get, the fact that he was able to impact offensively as much as he did in the playoffs just shows you how unbelievable Jalen Brunson is. But now you add Julius Randle back into that, where Jalen Brunson feels that much more comfortable taking over when needs to take over, but you have Randle there, who is just an absolute X factor on offense, 6'9", 250 pounds, with the ability to play make. You know how many guys in the NBA are like that? 5, maybe 6? And I just, for the life of me, cannot understand the Julius Randle disrespect. It's something we talked about last week here, in response to some people out there like Spike Eskin, who's a Sixers fan, who just constantly is spewing garbage when it comes to the Knicks, but especially Julius Randle. And you guys see that mock trade for Lauri Markkanen where the Knicks had to give up Randle like 3 picks? Like, come on. Are we serious here? Julius Randle, a 2-time All-NBA player, a guy who completely revamped his game from last year going into this year, who became a much more physical player, who completely abandoned that the spitting, the out of control ball handling, the deep 2, who became a much more efficient player, and it completely changed the outlook for the Knicks team. Again, especially in January, where they went 14-2. You hold on to Randle, you see what you have. Of course, it all has to work out financially. The Knicks need to be able to bring him back. If they can't bring him back, you got to look elsewhere. You got to pivot elsewhere. If you want to bring in Mikal Bridges, who I think the Knicks should want to bring in without having to include Julius Randle in the deal, then you go out and do it. I don't think he's a great alternative to Randle because you need a second playmaker and you need a second facilitator and a second offensive shot creator alongside Jalen Brunson. And Julius Randle is a perfect fit for that. We saw the 2-man game that Brunson and Randle were able to create, especially again in January. You saw the chemistry building between the two of them. You saw the attitude shift in Julius Randle, who we've seen in the past give up on the team. He's, as the leader on the team, the accountability wasn't always there. He wasn't always taking responsibility for his inaction to perform in various games before Jalen Brunson came in. But Jalen Brunson is now the leader of this team. Julius Randle could take a step back, could do what he does best, get to the basket, get downhill, create shots for himself and other players on the team, and Jalen Brunson can lead. It's a perfect, ideal situation. I think with the lack of respect that you see across the league with Julius Randle. Of course, these are only mock trades. We don't necessarily know what front offices think of Julius Randle, but if they're anywhere along the lines of what we're seeing from Bleacher Report, from all these different news outlets, you don't trade Julius Randle. You hold on to it because he's way more value on your team than to anyone else who's going to give you a low ball offer for him. So you hold on to Randle, you hold on to all these guys that you want to resign, you get Isaiah Hartenstein back. Trade Mitchell Robinson. You've seen the inability from Mitchell Robinson to stay on the court. And it's unfortunate considering the fact that he is one of the most impactful defensive players in the league, the best offensive rebounder in the league, not even close, bar none. I mean, like there's no other guy in the league who can rebound offensively as well as Mitchell Robinson. It's going to hurt to have to get rid of him, but he will be that major piece. He's making around $15 million a year in a trade for a glue guy, guy like Mikal Bridges, or a star that the Knicks have the assets to trade for said star. And shifting over to that, that's the last thing we're going to talk about here, the potential trades out there. I'm not going to throw out any names because you've heard them, again, from these news outlets who have proposed horrendous trades. And this is not a this year situation. This is going back 10, 15 years for the Knicks. When was the last time we've seen a Knicks player accurately represented in mock trades to their value, to their real value, the value that we know they have? It's been a long, long time, if ever. I don't think we've ever seen it. So I'm not going to throw out any random guys, but I do want to focus on Mikal Bridges. I envision this scenario in which the Knicks are able to, they've got the 2 picks in the mid-20s, back-to-back picks in this draft. They give those 2 picks up. They give up Deuce McBride. They give up Bojan Bogdanovic. And they give up Mitchell Robinson. Alongside those 2 picks, you want to throw in another unprotected first. You want to throw in the Pistons protected pick. You want to throw in the Bucks. I don't even know if they still have that Bucks pick, but you throw in one of those protected picks they have from other teams. You throw in an unprotected pick of their own, and you make that move for Mikal Bridges. And yes, you're giving up a lot of depth. You're giving up Deuce McBride, who might have the best contract in the entire NBA, 3 years, $13 million. I mean, this rivals Scottie Pippen's contract in the early 1990s. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it's true. He wanted the security. He got the security. It was before he started playing big minutes. Leon Rose, another unbelievable decision. And it's unfortunate for Deuce McBride and his agent, but he decided to take the security, decided to take the short deal on the table. He could have ended up in the G League. Who knows? He could have completely fallen flat on his face when he got more minutes. I didn't think he would. I was a huge Deuce McBride fan, part of the Deuce Hive. And I always loved what Deuce McBride offered. I love the fact that Deuce McBride, no matter what, he came in, played his heart out, but the second he started getting meaningful minutes on a consistent basis, you saw the potential that a lot of people saw in him before that. When he played big minutes when there was an injury, when Emmanuel quickly had to slot in Jalen Brunson's role at the end of the season in 2022-2023, and Emmanuel quickly stepped up, but who also stepped up behind it was Deuce McBride. And Deuce McBride, you get sent down to the G League, put up 35, 10, and 5. Like, the guy's got so much talent. He's finally able to utilize what he brings to the table. And what he now could bring to the table for the Knicks is being an extremely valuable trade asset for not only a team who really needs a glue guy, but a team who is looking to build the right way, who's looking to build a foundation. And Deuce McBride, say what you want about where he plays right now and the amount of minutes he plays, he could start on some teams in the NBA. No doubt about it. What he brings you on both sides of the ball, what we saw from Deuce McBride, specifically in that first series against the Sixers, specifically what we saw in Game 5 against the Pacers, picking up Tyrese Halliburton 94 feet and being the X factor in that game. Deuce has a lot of value. So no matter what these news outlets want to put out there, these garbage trade proposals, the Knicks have enough to get a guy like Mikal Bridges, a glue guy on an NBA Finals team. You get Mikal Bridges, he slots right back into where he was with the Suns, the number 3 option, potentially the number 4 option on the team. You give him the ability to do what he does best, focus on defense, focus on actually winning, because you slot him alongside these Villanova guys. I think his outlook on the game completely changes. Mikal Bridges, that being, completely changes. How could you want to win? How could you want to go out there and compete for the Brooklyn Nets? Imagine being the number 1 player, the de facto number 1 player on one of the worst teams in the NBA. You have a home game against the Knicks. 3 of your best friends from college are on the opposing team, a team that has title aspirations, and the arena is made up completely of Knicks fans. Like, how pathetic must that feel? And, of course, it remains to be seen if the Nets are going to be willing, if Sean Marks is going to be willing to trade Mikal Bridges to the crosstown rival Knicks. I mean, with what Joe Tsai is currently spewing to the media, I think there's a chance that they're going to look to trade their top guys. They're going to do another rebuild. I mean, Mikal Bridges is just not a number 1 guy anyway. So you need to go out. You need to acquire draft assets for him. You need to capitalize on whatever value he has, because I think it could even get even lower. Because if you watch the Nets, if you were in touch with the Nets, I had him on my fantasy team. It's almost like he completely stopped trying. I mean, defensively, he was not the same player that he was in Phoenix. Of course not, because his team had no chance of winning. But I think that he lowered his value, and maybe that's what he wanted to do. Maybe Mikal Bridges is like, you know what, this is my only chance. The Nets hopefully won't be able to get 3 or 4 first-round picks for me like they would have earlier on in the season or after last season, which when the Nets should have traded him. I think everyone and their mothers knew that Mikal Bridges wouldn't be a number 1 option on a championship team. And the Nets are nowhere near competing, so you get rid of a guy who's got value now. So the Nets are 4 or 5 years away from competing. Mikal Bridges is in his prime right now. You trade him. You got to trade him. But that's my ideal guy. Like you know what you have with these Villanova guys. You know that they're going to give it their all, that they have the championship DNA within them. Brunson, DiVincenzo, Bridges, 2 national championships. Not 1, 2. Josh Hart, being a little bit older, only has 1. Either way, these guys are winners. You put them in the right situation, in the right position, where it's not like Mikal Bridges. You put him, you slot him in there, and he's the number 1 option. He's got to carry the offensive load. He's not able to do that. You put these guys in the right spots, like Dante DiVincenzo's in, like Josh Hart is in, like Jalen Brunson has proven to be in, and these guys will thrive. That's what they did at Villanova. There's a one for all for one mantra when it comes to teams that have a lot of success in college basketball. You look at UConn in the last 2 years. Back-to-back championships. You look at Villanova. And what do those teams show that other teams don't? Teams that win a championship every 10 years, Duke, whatever. They have their superstars. They have their talent, of course. But the one thing these Villanova teams, alongside the UConn teams, no teams could rival, is the unselfishness. Is the fact that they were all playing together, the fact that they were coached by one of the best coaches in the country who instilled the values upon them that helped them be successful. You bring in a 4th Villanova guy, that's it. That's all you need. You get Mikal Bridges without having to give up Julius Randle, and that is it. The Knicks are by far the number 1 championship contenders in the NBA. In the NBA, a starting lineup of Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, Mikal Bridges, OG. You don't even start DiVincenzo. That's the DiVincenzo's off the bench. Completely forgot. Brunson, Bridges, Anunoby, Randle, Hartenstein. There it is. That's it. That's the championship team. Dunzo, over. And if the Knicks aren't the number 1 team in the odds, you hammer them. Absolutely. If they're anything worse than like plus 700, absolutely hammer them. Because they, on paper, become better than Boston, right? As good as Boston is, they are a 2-headed snake in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Yes, they have great complementary pieces, but their bench is not great. Their depth, not awesome. Kristaps Porzingis, you don't know what you have with him. He's very injury prone, but with this Knicks team, the next man up mentality becomes, it's ingrained in their fiber and their being. But you add a guy like Mikal Bridges, a guy. The NBA's Iron Man. This is the other thing about Mikal Bridges. He doesn't miss any games. He has not missed a game in his entire career, I believe. You know you're going to get 82 games a year out of Mikal Bridges. Guy just doesn't get hurt. Knock on wood. The guy doesn't get hurt. You trade for Mikal Bridges, you're not only getting one of the best 3-and-D guys in the NBA, you're getting a guy in which you know will be there 82 games a season. He will start 82 games for your team, which is just an invaluable asset to have. And it's worth giving up Deuce McBride in a trade for someone like that. Again, take this all with a grain of salt. There's no truth to any of this. Of course, the Knicks are interested in Mikal Bridges. How could you not be interested in him? But again, it remains to be seen if the Nets are going to be willing to trade Mikal Bridges. I think it makes sense for the Knicks. I think that's the star they need, especially after what we saw in January. Like, the Knicks blew out the Nuggets by 40. They beat the Timberwolves. They beat a bunch of other really good teams in that stretch. And they showed you how dominant they could be. Offensively, you don't need a guy to come in and take the, whatever load you need to take away from Jalen Brunson, because that is Julius Randle. And I think that you run it back with Randle, you run it back with Brunson, you get all these guys back, and you make that move from Mikal Bridges. That's it. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that team becomes the number 1 favorite in the NBA to win the championship. You have everything from top to bottom. You got the coaching, the culture. You got the Villanova guys. You got the holy trinity of Villanova guys. You got the 4 guys. You got Julius Randle, your number 2 shot creator, your offensive X factor, and then you got probably the best defensive front court in NBA history. You have the best defensive front court in NBA history. OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, and Isaiah Hartenstein. There you go. That's what you get when you go out and trade for Mikal Bridges. When you don't give up Julius Randle. You cannot give up Julius Randle in that deal. I'm sorry. And that's why you can't put any thought in any. You can't take any of this without a grain of salt. You know, like all of these mock trades that you see the Knicks giving up 7 first-round picks, I'm tired of seeing that. So the Knicks, they know what their value is for their guys, and they are going to explore that value, especially when it comes to trading for a guy like Mikal Bridges. There is no need for the Knicks to go out and get a bona fide superstar. There's no need. You have the foundation. You have the team right now. You re-sign your guys. You trade for Mikal Bridges. That's it. Dunzo. All right. Let's talk about later this week. As some of you know, I moved into my apartment in New York City. Going to be a lot more content coming your way. Rangers talk this week. As little as I know about the Rangers, a good friend of mine, Doug Latuca, you may know him if you know some of my work that I did in college. We've got great camaraderie. I mean, he knows nothing about any other sport, but he's a hockey guy. He knows what he's talking about with hockey. He's a big Rangers guy. Going to be doing a video with him on Thursday. Check out One Giant Step tomorrow with Sean Morash. That'll be out tomorrow night. Of course, that's your Giants podcast. You got to be locked into One Giant Step with myself and Sean Morash. I try to do some Giant stuff on here, but that's kind of like been my focus for that podcast. And then, of course, I'm doing Knicks stuff. More Yankee stuff coming your way, too. That'll be something I talk about with Doug as well. It's been a very exciting season thus far for the Yankees. Keep our fingers crossed that Garrett Cole could come back and the starting lineup can continue producing and pitching the way that they had pitched. And now you slot in Garrett Cole there, and you're getting the best pitcher in baseball back. So it's a really good time to be a Yankee fan. Let's see if for once they could not screw it up and continue playing well. But for all of this, for all this great content that I'll be putting out, I'm Bryce Gelman. We'll talk to you all later this week, tomorrow on One Giant Step, and Thursday about the Rangers. Let's go Rangers tonight. Hopefully they go up 3-1 in this series. And we'll speak to you all tomorrow on One Giant Step and Thursday on my YouTube channel. Thank you for all tuning in.